to Grateful Goddesses, a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on this Wednesday to Grateful Goddesses. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you've joined us. And I'm happy that if you're listening or watching on Facebook, on my Facebook Live or LinkedIn, if you would like to be part of the live audience, you just have to register at pulver.com and go to GGTV, where you can register for free and join us in the live audience. And what's great about being in the live audience is you'll get to interact with our guests, you'll get to ask questions and hear the wonderful, amazing answers. And you'll also get to take part in some of the activities that we're going to be doing. So we're going to talk tonight about courage and bravery and fear and racing, no pun intended, through our fears. I want to start, though, by just explaining something that goes along with Grateful Goddesses. When I started Grateful Goddesses back in 2009, we had venues in the city of Chicago, and we would meet and gather and talk about our fears and talk about obstacles that we faced and talk about all the different challenges, as well as all the amazing things we wanted to try in life, but perhaps we were just a little bit scared to do on our own. And one individual approached me and said that she was really scared of eating sushi. Now, when I say that to you, well, let me just try this. I have a pineapple in front of me. What if I were to tell you I'm scared of eating this pineapple? Okay, what would you think? Am I crazy? Like, how? I have no food allergies. It's not about that. I'm just scared of the pineapple. Lauren, I see you have a pineapple on your screen picture. But like, what if I said that? Well, at first, when she told me she was scared of eating sushi, I felt a little bit like, what? Really? You're scared of eating sushi? But she truly was. And we, on our first goddess night, after our meditation experience, we all gathered around her and she took a bite of the sushi and she hated it. She spit it out. Now, you thought I was going to say she loved it and she was so excited that she tried the pineapple and she faced her fear. Well, she did face her fear because we all supported her and gathered around her, but she realized it wasn't for her. And that's what Goddesses is about to me. It's about leaping and trying and adding these things to your life that you might feel a little hesitant to try, because once you do incorporate little things like that into your life, it enhances your life so much more. So our guest tonight is Valerie Clark. Valerie is 18 years old. She's our youngest goddess that we've interviewed. Please check out her episode. It is really quite fascinating and just so much fun to listen to. She started driving when she was 14 years old and she couldn't really legally drive, but she drove she used to race UTVs with her parents' permission. And then she followed in her dad's footsteps and started racing short courses. Then I'm going to say this, and she will explain. Geyser built trophy truck Spec from Unlimited Motorsports, all competitors racing with the same equipment. So she's going to talk to us about how the types of races that she does. She was told, and I love this, by other female drivers to push through the hard stuff and prove people wrong. Be the woman who is powerful. That is just amazing. And she wants to be the youngest woman to win the race someday. So welcome, Valerie, to Grateful Goddesses. We're so thrilled that you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And I saw on your Instagram, because I follow you, that you just had prom.
I did. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I didn't get to experience it last year, but I'm super glad I went this year.
And I know that your date is supporting you right now. We had a little visit from him. He can pop his head in. It's always nice. Hi there. Hi, Aiden. It's always nice to have support. because that's, what I really believe in is empowering others by that support and having even just that one person to help push us through our fears and help push us through life's challenges. I watched videos of your racing, and you all can do that if you check her out on the web, and you are really inspiring. Can you share with us all about the kinds of races you do and educate us on the trucks that you race?
Yeah, for sure. So I race a Geyser Spec trophy truck, and Geyser is basically the brand. There's not really Ford or Chevy or anything like that. These are all purpose-built racing trucks that they're meant to take the gnarliest of trails, go over big bumps, big rocks, and everything. They are built out of like a dune buggy, if anybody's ever seen that. It looks like that, and then it has truck-like suspension in the front and the back, and then we put a fiberglass body on it to make it look like a truck. So it's not metal. It doesn't have working doors or anything like that. It's like NASCAR where you get in through the window. But basically, we race those things through the desert. It's not necessarily a closed course. Whenever we're racing down in Mexico, we're racing basically through people's driveways, safely, of course. We let them know and everything. We're not just destroying their property, but through the middle of nowhere. We use GPSs, not like a phone GPS, like a specific, I think they're boating GPSs, but they can cross over into our discipline of racing. And yeah, that's what we do.
Now, you started out riding horses, and that was your passion, and then it transitioned into what you do now. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I tried sports. I tried, soccer, basketball, whatever. But what really stuck with me is horses. And I think the main thing, I would show horses. I didn't do barrel racing or anything. I did AQHA, if anybody's familiar with that. And I would compete because my grandma really loved it. And I really liked the camaraderie and the relationship that we created through that. I moved on from horses, and let's see, that was probably summer before my freshman year. My dad gave me the choice. He was like, "You gotta choose horses or race cars, and can't do both." So I switched over to race cars. And now I still have a relationship with my grandma, and we built that with horses. But now I get to switch over and build that relationship with my dad through racing the trucks.
And we talked as well on the interview, and I would love to bring this up tonight on GGTV. How do you feel women are represented in the racing world? And do you feel you are changing that image and view?
So within desert racing, and specifically within the Spec trophy truck class, there's not a lot of women, and there's not a lot of young women. Yes, there are. There are women all throughout all the classes and all throughout the different racing associations, but I would say they're underrepresented, because that's a big thing women can do anything, obviously, but that's a big thing for women to go into, especially when it's so male dominated. And I think you really have to have the mindset of, it's not about being a woman that's gonna, how do I word this? You just got to go for it, because you can't hold yourself back because of what other people may think because you're a woman. You just got to go for it. And I think it's really cool that I get to be a young woman in such a competitive class and be able to show people that you can do that.
That's awesome. You also used to wrestle.
Correct? I did. I
wrestled
and played rugby. Same thing. I tried all the sports. Horses is where I found my passion when I was younger. Whenever I went into high school, I didn't feel like I could do soccer since I hadn't done it since I was super young, or basketball or volleyball or anything like that. So my freshman year was the inaugural year for women's wrestling in Missouri. So I went into that kind of as a cross training for rugby again, because people don't play rugby since they were 2, 3, 4 years old. And both of those kind of went hand in hand, and I really found my place there as well.
Wow. I know that you had expressed to us in the last interview that you are a very fearful person. And when you said that before our interview, I said, how can she say that? Look at what she's doing. So you do have some fears. Can you share with us, if you don't mind, what those might be?
Yeah, for sure. So before I started racing the trucks, we bought them in August of 2020. Before that, I had a race where I got hurt pretty bad. My dad, it's not uncommon to hit other cars in a race. It's very technical, and you just get really close to other cars. Even though you're in the middle of the desert, you come up in the dust. We hit somebody in the dust, and I separated my ribs from my sternum, right? I think it was just one or two of them. Nothing crazy, but it hurt really bad in that situation, and it really scared me. Because at first, I mean, that's the perfect spot to think, oh, maybe it's my heart. Maybe I didn't know it was my chest and my bones, but that turned into pretty debilitating anxiety, not just around racing, but around just riding in cars in general, because I kind of, not PTSD, but I had flashbacks to that moment of like, wow, that happened so fast. And my brain twisted that, and I got super anxious, and I wasn't going to race at all. We didn't know that we were going to get the trucks. And now that we have the trucks and I have kind of overcome that initial fear of being in the trucks and getting back into a race car, I will be honest, I don't like going fast. I'm a race car driver, and going in a straight line super fast scares me so much. I enjoy the technical sections. I don't enjoy the technical sections on the cliffs though. So although I have overcome the initial fear, I still have to get over each and every fear that comes after that, because the desert is a crazy place. It's a ecosystem in itself, and it changes race to race, corner to corner. A rock could be thrown in the course. A cow could be crossing. There could be a car crossing. So just all those anxieties, I have to make sure I push through, make good millisecond decisions. Because that's what it is.
You said push through.
Push
Can
through.
we talk a bit about that? Is that how you got back in the truck? Like, I'm just thinking back to, as you're describing this of your story, okay, she's so scared this happened, which totally is a normal, completely like understandable event. Like getting back on the horse, getting back in the race car.
Exactly.
Can you walk us through that moment, if you remember, of the first time you did get back into the truck?
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, getting back on the horse, I feel like that's kind of been a common theme. Obviously with horses, if you get bucked off, you got to get right back on, or you're never going to get back on. Whenever I did wrestling and rugby, I injured my shoulder, and that was a situation where I didn't get right back on, and I eventually discontinued doing rugby and wrestling because of my shoulder. So with the racing thing hurting my chest, my dad was like, you just got to get back on the horse. We were going out to test the truck for the first time, drive it for the first time, because the dynamics between a UTV versus a truck are completely different. He was like, you know what, just try it. You got to go, you got to do it. Because if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And it was really my dad that encouraged me to just go ahead and do it. And I know it's hard to grasp, but you just got to stop thinking and just go for it. And that's what's really worked for me. I heard this thing, I think it was on TikTok or something silly. Just have the 1, 2, 3 blast off mindset. Just 1, 2, 3 and get up, jump out of bed. If you don't want to, if you're pressing snooze, or get in the race car or whatever, just anything. 1, 2, 3 blast off.
1, 2, 3, I'm going to put that. That's like a good thing to put right on your nightstand. 1, 2, 3 blast off, or on your mirror as you're brushing your teeth in the morning.
Yep.
Like, leap into it and start your day, because how else are you going to do it? What's coming to my mind is, I don't like cold water.
Right.
So I recently, though, have been doing this hot to cold. I don't know if you've ever heard of that kind of treatment. Like, it was, you go into like a hot or like a jacuzzi type style bath, and then you go into a freezing cold one, and you're supposed to stay for like 5 minutes. The first time I did it, it was like, obviously the warm was like, 10 minutes, loving this. Okay, the cold's going to feel refreshing. Well, I was in there for 2 seconds out. But then I've been doing it back and forth. And I just came back from Canada where the water was 50 degrees, and it was so glorious. I jumped in, the same thing, 1, 2, 3. I jumped in and I swam, and it was like, that wasn't so bad. The more practice too, it's kind of like a muscle. Do you like, when you keep pushing yourself and trying new things, it gets easier? Did you find it got easier the more you just pushed through?
Yep. Practice makes perfect. And even if it doesn't make perfect, it just, again, you just got to throw yourself into it, because as you keep practicing, it'll keep becoming a habit. And I think the important part of it, another thing is I'm reading a book right now called Relentless by Tim Grover. It was like a personal trainer for Kobe Bryant and I think Michael Jordan. He just says, I like the 1, 2, 3 blast off. And he says, don't think, because if you think about it, you're going to talk yourself out of it. Wow. So I think those are two very important things that have got me very far.
Well, some people though say, take baby steps. What do you think about that? Like if you were to have, exposure therapy, kind of like take little baby steps towards the fear.
I think for me, I think jumping into it is the best way. I'm very much so an overthinker. And if I take a baby step, I'm going to take about 3 steps back because we're human. As soon as it becomes uncomfortable, we're going to be like, oh, wait, I can't do that. And we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like we can do anything and our mind's going to stop us before our body stops us. So.
That's funny. When I was going in the water, I was first on the ladder and I was putting my toe in. I'm like, okay, then my foot and then my leg. And I'm like, oh no, go.
Exactly. You just got to do it.
But I personally think there is a place for baby steps.
There is a place for baby steps.
And we'll talk more about that. Okay. I'm going to ask you this perhaps vulnerable question. You did say you're fearful of going fast, but you told me before this interview when we chatted the other day, there's something else you're scared of trying, but you, I think, want to try one day. Am I correct?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Skydiving. I think that is probably the most terrifying situation where you can't control a single thing. Once you're out of that plane, it's kind of just up to the earth what's going to happen. I mean, your parachute could go out and just the overthinking starts happening, But once you're out of that plane, there's not much overthinking that can happen. You just got to think of what you have to do and do it.
Do you think you're going to do that one day?
I think I'm going to have to.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I think I'm going to have to. I want to do it with you. Can we meet and do it together? Because that is something that I want to do. And I told my husband I want to do it. He's like, are you crazy? But I think, if I'm able to live a long, long life, even when I'm in my 90s, I think I'm going to, if I haven't done it, I'm going to give you a call because you're a lot younger than me and you'll do it with me. So we're going to do this together.
Well, I can do it now since I'm 18.
You can do it now. That's right. That it's exciting to talk like when you talk about fear. Well, I'm thinking like I'm excited as well. So what do you think about that? Like that dichotomy, you're scared to try something, but then, oh wait, but it gets you your heart beating and a bit of excitement. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's kind of like adrenaline therapy. Adrenaline therapy is very real. That's why people, go and get tattoos or they go get piercings or they go skydiving. It's just like the thrill of life and being able to make that decision and like, what's the word? Being happy or being like, yeah, I did it. I finally did the thing I was scared of. I think that's really cool.
So the afterwards feels so good that you've done it. That makes sense. I want to ask you, who's been the biggest influence in your life?
That's a really tough one because I have a lot of really amazing people around me, and even people that aren't in my life anymore have had great impacts on me. But I would think both of my parents, obviously, they've been great parents to me, both in completely different ways. My mom, she has always been very nurturing and she's always just a call away and I can tell her literally anything and she won't be upset. She won't get mad at me. But she'll give me good advice.
Mom's here. Does she want to say hi? You don't have to. There she is. Yeah, your mom and your dad.
And my dad, he is more of the true tough love kind of guy. He'll give me the kick in the butt when I need it and make sure I'm on the right track and fulfilling my full potential in a different way. Because my mom also does that. She does it in the mom way. And then my dad does it in the dad way. So they're definitely the most important ones.
Did you tell me, I might be wrong, but my memory might be wrong, but did you tell me your mom raced as well?
Yes. Yeah. She and my dad raced. So my dad started racing. My mom started racing, showed me that I could do it and that it could be done. Doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, you're a girl, boy, whatever, doesn't matter. You can do it. And then my dad was the one that was really like, let's do it then. Like, just go ahead, just do it. He gave me the opportunity to do it. My mom showed me how. And yeah.
Well, that's great. What roadblocks, no pun intended, have you faced and how have you conquered them?
I think the main thing would just be getting in my own head. That's always been a big roadblock for me, is just being fearful of what may happen, creating those silly little scenarios that we do in our heads.
Yeah.
That would probably be the main one. I have pretty good people around me, so even if there were external roadblocks, they were there to help me knock them down pretty quick. But I think I'm my own biggest critic, and that was the main thing.
We all have that. We have that inner critic that pops up. We talked about it a few weeks ago and how debilitating it can be, and it can totally paralyze you from doing something. So you've mentioned it. You just jump. You just push yourself through. You don't think too hard about it, and take put one step in front of the other, and have that belief that everything is going to work out.
Yeah, I truly believe that I will regret not doing it more than I will regret doing it. That's kind of always been my mantra.
Well, that's great. This is just a little fun thing to ask. Can you describe a typical day of your racing, like what you do to prepare in the morning and all that kind of stuff? Like you're 18, like what is because I have kids that are older now, and what they would do, like even including school. How is that shared with racing?
So a race day, it's not just a day, especially if it's a longer race. It's usually a week or 2 weeks. Oopsies. Wow. Alrighty. Can you still see me? My screen blacked out.
That's okay. We gotcha.
So we last year I raced in Baja California, which is down peninsula to the side of mainland Mexico. And we would go down a week and a half before. Usually the course would be open, it would be marked, we would have our GPS file, and we would just go run it over and over and over again. Or my dad and I would split it. I would run my section, he would run his section. And that's how I would prepare for that. School was usually done before that time, because I just wanted to focus, have no external factors being like, oh shoot, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. So I would have that done before, go pre-run. We would, and then race day, since we are in the truck class, we usually start around 10 or 11. So I have those morning jitters, get breakfast, and I try and calm myself down. I listen to music usually, but I try not to make a big deal out of it. Because if I start making a big deal out of it, I'm going to be freaking myself out. Just that overthinking thing again, because if you make it a big deal, it's going to be a big deal. And yes, you got to give it credit. Obviously it's race day. You got to have your head in the game. But if you're like, no, don't talk to me, it's race day, then you're not going to be enjoying yourself. You're going to freak out, all that stuff. Right before I get in the race car and make sure I'm all suited up, that's usually when I kind of get in my own zone, don't talk to anybody. And I'm just like, okay, this is what I got to do. I'm going to do it, get in the truck and go.
Wow, that's amazing. You were involved in something called the Human Baton. It's an amazing race type format that you were recently involved in. Can you share with us about this experience? Maybe explain to people watching what it is and how it has complemented what you're doing in the racing world.
Yeah, so I think the Human Baton, it is bringing a bunch of different racing disciplines all together and like giving them their own little minute of fame. I don't remember if there's 5 or 6, but I know there's horse racing, there's like skydiving racing.
You'll be in that next.
Yeah, right. Drift racing, supercars, desert racing, and then I think it's 6, and then there's boat racing, and I don't remember what they're called, but basically, for example, someone would get in a helicopter, skydive down, meet the supercar in the mountains, go through the mountains, meet the drift car in the parking lot, go do their drift race. Drift car would drive them to the edge of the desert, hop in with me, and there would be one person with each of that would be called the baton going between each of these people that are on their own team. Right. So like I would have 5 other trucks next to me, and they would have their own team with their own baton that they're trying to get to the next point. And it's just bringing all these different racing disciplines together with one like superhuman that would be able to do all of these with the expert such as me in the desert racing field.
And what happened in?
So we did a little leg of the race because
Right.
of COVID. We couldn't have everybody all together, but I went to Haskell, Texas, and I was on the all women's team, and I brought my team from last place to second place. So that was awesome.
That is awesome. Yay, I see people clapping. That's such an accomplishment. I was going to say, what's been your biggest accomplishment to date that you've achieved? Is that one of them?
That's one of them. That was a pretty cool opportunity, being invited to be on TV. I don't think anyone could think of something cooler.
Yeah.
But also for racing specifically, just desert racing, my goal for this year was to get a top 10 finish in the first 6 months. I made that goal prior to our last race, which was in December. And even before the year started, I got 7th place in my last race. So I already beat that goal before the year even started.
Amazing. And, I forgot to ask you to bring the magazine, but I don't know if you have it nearby that you're on the cover of. Maybe your boyfriend.
I have a picture.
Grab it. Okay,
I
go
have a
grab
picture. Let me grab it real quick.
So she was on the cover. Here she goes to show. I love all your pictures. That's such a nice thing to do in your room.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Can you explain what that is and where are you? There you are with the hat.
Yep, right there. So SCORE, it's the SCORE Journal. SCORE is the racing association that I raced in last year. It's the one in Baja, Mexico. And I am one of 2 women in my class, the Spec Trophy Truck class. And I'm the youngest woman. I think the other lady, she's a mom. So she's probably my mom's age, 40-ish. And but it's still awesome because here's all the, not all of them, but here's a bunch of different women that they showcased. This girl over here, her name's Jordan. She's my age too, and she's in a different class. But it was just cool. They interviewed, I'm not a level A racer. I'm probably a level B or C racer, as in I'm not super well known. I don't have thousands of followers or anything, but they gave us a chance to share our story and to let people get to know us. So that was super awesome.
That's great. Well, you really are an inspiration to young girls, who are thinking about doing something like this. And okay, so you talked about your fear being skydiving. This is where we do some activities with the group, and I'd love for you to help participate. And your boyfriend Aiden can join us as well.
Sounds good.
Over if he would like. So I often talk about Grateful Goddesses as like the Wizard of Oz, and how we are on this journey of the yellow brick road. And, Dorothy wants to find home. Oh, someone else there too?
My sister's here too.
Hi, sister. What's your name?
This is Savannah.
Hi, Savannah. Do you race as well?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you're thinking about it. Okay, that's so cool. Aiden, do you race?
No, I don't race.
No, you just are her biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, I watch.
That's cool. Well, we all need that encouragement. Okay, so I was talking about the Wizard of Oz, and I hope you've all seen it. So Dorothy's trying to find home, and Tin Man is trying to find, his brain, and Scarecrow wants not courage. I'm sorry. No, Scarecrow wants a brain. Tin Man wants a heart. Lion wants courage. There we go. And but he has it. He discovers it in the end that he has it all along. And we all have courage in us all along. It's just learning how to get over that fear. So to me, courage means taking action, just like you were saying, like just despite your fears, just do it. And the more you develop that, just like a muscle, the easier it will get. So how do we do this? Well, the very first step is identifying what scares you. So I want our viewers right now just to write a couple things or as many as you want of what scares you. It can be something as simple, like I mentioned, like sushi or a pineapple, or it can be something big like, for me, I had a big fear of flying for a long, long time. So mine, I'm going to write down fear of flying. Now, your fears that you're writing down can be something that you've actually conquered, because that will be nice to share with each other how we conquered them, or something that you're still afraid of. So let's take a minute to write those down. You guys can do it too if you want. And as you're doing this, you can write down, for example, for me, fear of flying, but put it into words like, why am I afraid of falling? What is possible in my mind that I'm afraid of falling? So for me, it might be, well, death, falling out of the sky. It might be pain, the fear of pain if the plane goes down. That's what I mean. Like if you're, talking about spiders, for example, your fear might be spiders. Well, why? Because they might bite you, that kind of thing. So try and think about that. Because what I've noticed also in my coaching that I've been doing is when I talk to my clients about their fears and we actually write them down or verbally say them aloud, it allows you to really get to the core of why. And then you can address how. How can you conquer? So I'm not sure if anyone wants to volunteer. If you do, you can raise your hand. You can show us. Would anyone like to volunteer to list some of their fears? If not, I'm going to call upon my husband or my daughter. Oh, Estella. Thank you, Estella. You can unmute yourself.
Myself, okay.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming.
I'm love to be here tonight, especially with this young woman there. It's just
amazing,
an honor, to be sitting here and seeing her representing the youth. Yeah. Great job. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
My fears. I have many fears, and one of them is basically spiders.
Oh, okay.
I can stand them, and then also caterpillars. I just don't, and then snakes, of course. I just freak out like, ah! And then and the plane. I had fear of flying, and this time I don't know what happened. Maybe my age. I just went down to Central America because my mom passed away, and maybe because that feeling. I did not fear being on the plane for some reason. One neutralizes the other. So don't know what that is. Psychologically, it must be an explanation, but I don't know how to explain it. And then, and I love to observe the ocean. I admire the ocean, but I don't picture myself in the middle on a boat or something like that. So,
do you swim in the ocean? Can you swim?
No, I can't, but I love to get into the boats. It has to be a large boat, to go across. I don't like to go into the little ones because they tip over and I won't come out. So,
okay.
Yeah. So
thank you for being vulnerable and sharing those fears. I see a hand up. I see your sister there.
Mine is just like being like on a boat, because you could like just be like stuck in there and like not get out, like the Titanic. That movie just like scares me because they can't like get out. Mm-hmm. And it's also like racing. I was scared of racing before. I'm like always scared that she's gonna get like lost, or she's gonna like roll or get like hit by something or something. And also snakes. I just don't like when they like to slither around and like to bite you.
Gross.
Yeah.
They're gross.
Have you seen trucks roll over?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you for sharing. That's very brave of you to share. That's kind of the first step in facing our fears that I've learned is just verbalizing them. Eric, how about you, my husband? Are you scared of me? I'm kidding.
No,
you can unmute.
I've been desperately trying to figure out what my fears are. And I
don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
I'm sure that I'm fearful of certain things. But I have a lot of things that I have cautions over, right?
Right.
I would jump out of a plane if I had to, and I'd be fine jumping out of it. But for recreational activity, I wouldn't jump out of a plane. So I would be scared. I'd have a fear of doing that I would overcome if they said, well, the plane's crashing, or you can jump out and use a parachute. So I'd use a parachute every time. There's not once I would stay on the plane to go down, right?
But I understand you wouldn't do skydiving for fun, for the thrill.
Yeah, I don't think so. I was had a fear of standing up on a stage and doing stand-up, and I overcame that. And I found that was, for me, that was my skydiving, but I did it because I was standing on the ground. I mean, what could happen? Right? I could trip and fall off the stage. I think that, I'm concerned about walking late at night in areas that may or may not be safe, because we have a lot of unknown things that may happen if you're not aware of what's going on. And that might be it. I was thinking a lot about it, the false expectations that appear real, or all the different
false expectations appearing real, fear. Right.
Fear, right.
And you've taught me that. Actually, my husband, married 31 years, has taught me, and he has really helped me to face a lot of my fears. I wanted to,
but also that it's okay to have fears.
Of course, it's totally okay. It's totally normal for us. We're human. We're going to have fears. That's why we're talking tonight, because it's so important to understand that we all can have fears. And how do we push through them? Because it's paralyzing and it can cause you not to do things. So for example, with flying, I live in Chicago and family lives in Toronto, most of my family. And for a while, I would be so petrified to fly. I'd rather drive. But then I don't love driving. Sorry, Valerie, I'm not really a good driver. I get tired, and it's just like, I don't go fast enough and whatever. I don't like people passing me and all that. So flying is so much better than driving. And that's kind of my next step of how I conquered that fear, is realizing, just being more aware of it, becoming more specific about it, like we're doing now, like you were saying, Savannah, right? Your sister, Savannah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like you saw the Titanic, you watched that movie, you saw actually things happening. So of course you're going to be, that's totally normal to be afraid of that. And Eric, you saying about being on stage, like that was scary for you, or wanting to do that. So really getting curious about it, and then figuring out, how am I going to go through this? So there's so many different ways. I even did a hypnosis therapy, and I did a past life regression. Whether you believe in it or not, it was really just for fun. But something came up in that the person told me that in one of my past lives, I had been shot out of a cannon, and that's how I died. So when I was told that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Maybe that's why I don't like heights. Listen, it was just fun, but it certainly added to my understanding of fear. I'm not suggesting you do the past life. I'm just saying that's what I did that helped me on my journey. Another thing yes, David, let's unmute David. Welcome. Thank you for coming, David. So nice to see you again. Wait, you have to unmute. There you go.
Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot. First of all, I want to say, Valerie, you are a real inspiration to not only to kids your age, but to old fogies like me and some of the others on the call, who are way past the AARP age, which is 50. But I'm out in New Mexico, so if you're out anywhere around here, I mean, you're on a circuit, but you're in Missouri, but just getting to fear. My real fear is fear of rejection, but I happened to have picked up this book the other day. This guy, Gavin DeBecker, a very interesting guy. I mean, a lot of people are saying things. I mean, you know, somebody mentioned about you have to have some kind of fears, and obviously, you know, when you hear a loud noise, you can't just sit there and, you know, I mean, it could be a fire or, you know. So anyway, but I think from an old timer, a lot, that thing about false evidence appearing real, a lot of the fear we have amounts to, you know, it's much ado about nothing or much ado about very little. So for those of you who are in what you might call the earlier stages of life, a lot of the fears you're going to be coming up against are totally irrelevant, and the sooner you can conquer them, the better. But that doesn't mean that they won't come up. Every little height you go to, you know, I mean, people who, you know, big stars have fears every day. I mean, they tell me that, you know, and they tell anybody that. So anyway.
No, thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. And that book, I'm going to get that, because it is a gift. You know, that's another thing that I was learning about embracing fear, being thankful. So for flying, you know, I'm so thankful that a plane can take me faster from one place to another. And when I look at it in that way, and in the way of being grateful goddesses, then it enables me to kind of get over that fear a little bit. And I know that Valerie, in our interview, we also talked a lot about positive affirmations, mantras. You might have inscriptions, whatever it is that you have. Valerie has all over her room the last time we spoke, right? The second you wake up, from the minute you go to bed, you have aspirations that you read, right?
Yeah, mine are usually faith-based because that's what works for me.
Yes.
But I just think that those daily reminders that work for you are super important.
Yes, and I loved that about her. When I interviewed when she was 17, she had the wisdom of having that, and how important that is to not just, you know, to have it visually written so it really reminds you and you stick to it each day. And just, you know, that power of positivity. The last thing I wanted to talk about with fear is talking about, which I do in my coaching with Pulver Possibilities coaching, is what's the worst case scenario? So Eric, what's the worst case scenario for you getting on stage doing your stand-up?
I would forget everything.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't be funny.
You might be heckled.
Well, I'm not so worried about that.
Okay.
Or that somebody might come up on the stage and slap me.
Okay. We're not going to go there. But, you know, that's very interesting, because I'm sure a lot of comedians now, we're not going to get it, this a little political, but I'm sure a lot of comedians now might be fearful of that. So I'm sure that that goes in your head. But thinking about the worst case scenario, and is it so bad if you forget? What would you do if you would have forgotten, if you got up and forgot?
I don't know. But I'm sure it would have worked out okay. You're right.
No, it's not a question of being right. Although when
you mean, what would I have done?
You're used to saying that to me because we're married 31 years. You're right. But it's a question.
Yeah, I would remember what I was going to say, or I would say something else, and it would be fine. Right. It would just be not what was in the plan.
Right.
And sometimes when you plan things and they don't go the way that you want, you can have that anxiety, that feeling of uneasiness. But I think that's when, if you can come up with solutions to things, and sometimes you always have to think that you often say, oh, you can fix it, right? I fix it. But there's always an answer, a solution, or workaround. And when not great things happen, often there's a good thing around the corner that may have happened because of that thing that wasn't so good. And sometimes there's just not, but most of the times there is. And that's the life in the mountains and valleys, right?
Well, that's what makes life so exciting. So I said fear of flying. Yeah, I'm afraid of crashing and dying. And that's the ultimate, right? Like, you know, that could happen. But if that is going to stop me from getting on with my life and doing the things that I want to do, then I have to really address that fear. And, you know, as Valerie said, she just jumps into it and just goes on it. I took baby steps. I remember, doing a lot of different therapies and different things, and then going on a plane and breathing. I'm not really that religious, but I say this every time I go on a plane. Before I walk in, I say, please, universe, may this flight be safe and not bumpy, because I don't like the bumps. And just say, sometimes I forget. And as we're taking off, I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot to say it. And I know it sounds possibly crazy, but it helps me. So whatever you can do, to help you prepare for something, why not do it? What I wanted to try too was something I learned in my coaching experience, was breaking out of your routine. And this can help you deal. I know you're going to say, what? How does this help me with my fears? But so we're going to do this activity. Hold a pen or pencil or whatever you have, even your toothbrush tonight, in your dominant hand, the hand that you most used to. Okay. You're holding, Eric, please don't be that kind of kid that, okay, because I know you're right-handed. All right, now put it in your less dominant hand and write your name. Okay, as you're writing your name, think about how you're feeling doing that with your less dominant hand. How does it feel? Who would like to let us know? I'm going to ask Valerie. Valerie, how did that feel?
It doesn't feel quite right. It feels like I don't have control over it.
There you go. It feels like you don't have control over it. Oh, Savannah, how about you? Valerie's sister.
It just feels kind of wobbly. It just like looks like my handwriting that I had in like preschool. My hand.
So it's not familiar. It maybe felt uncomfortable, a little, different than the routine. So it's that discomfort that you feel, right? And tonight, before you go to bed, because everyone should brush their teeth. If you don't know that, that's the most important time, is at night. Try brushing your teeth with your less dominant hand and see how that feels, because it's being able to face the discomfort is what I've learned. And it's not comfortable for me to get on a plane. It still isn't. I still hate it, but I do it. And Valerie, I'm sure when you were saying you got back into the truck and it was uncomfortable, does it still feel uncomfortable, or have you gotten past that?
It still feels uncomfortable. I would say it takes, 50-ish miles to get back in the groove of things.
The groove, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me a second to get in the zone for sure.
How is it getting easier for you as you keep doing it? Does it get easier, or?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, I like that motto too. Practice makes perfect. So with fears, I also discovered, just with my own fears of, like I said earlier, I'm a lot like you, Valerie, where I like to just leap in, but there's sometimes where you have to. Did we lose you? Oh, there you are. You just moved on my screen. I'm like, oh no, there you are. I was getting a little scared there. Okay, that didn't feel so comfortable, did it? But here you are. Yeah, just trying out new things like all the time, and just, baby steps or leaping straight in. Now what I'd like you to do in our live audience is for you to think of something big that you've always wanted to do, but you felt too afraid to do. Okay, so think of that and write that down. And we'll see if we have a volunteer that would like to share. You can raise your hand. What's something that you've always wanted to do? Okay, Stella, you get the participation award tonight.
Yeah. It's funny what I'm going to say, because I dream of it, but I know that parachuting.
Yeah, because you're going to join me. You're going to join me. You're going to join me. We're going to do it with Valerie one day.
No, but mine is going to be a smaller distance, from the ground. And then going to the CN Tower 100 times later, right?
Yeah. The CN Tower.
It's a dream, right? That's the parachuting. But
that's big. That's a big thing.
From the roof to the ground.
Savannah, I see your hand up again. What are you thinking is a big thing?
I think probably maybe going on a boat, like a nice one with like the slides and stuff.
Like a cruise ship.
Yeah. And also racing in a race car.
Just like your sister.
Mhm.
Well, in a race car though. Yeah, not a truck.
Yeah.
Right? But racing.
Yeah.
Well, she inspires you, it seems.
Mhm.
That's cool. So that's a kind of fun exercise to do too, just to think about something big that you've always wanted to do, and then think about steps towards doing it. So something that I've wanted to do, skydiving, right? So in Chicago, there's an indoor skydiving place. So I think I'm going to try that, because that's a baby step, and that's where I'll hopefully get that feeling, but I'll have that safety net, right? So perhaps thinking of things like that might make the fear less, not as big and challenging. And then maybe in time you can go to do something like I might actually go skydiving one day. So that's something to think about. I wanted to just end by asking you a few more questions, Valerie. What is up next for you?
So for the past 5 or so months, the trucks have been completely being stripped down, all the way down to the cage, wiring off, body panels off, everything. My truck is getting all new wiring and just freshened up. It'll be like brand new, even though it's, almost 10 years old. Same thing with my dad's truck. And then this season, my dad and I are going to be in completely separate trucks racing against each other. And our first race is going to be Baja, Nevada, which is going to be from Las Vegas to Tonopah on June 24th. So that's what's next.
And how about what's next just with school?
So I just graduated high school this past weekend. I'm going to go to college. I just don't know where yet. So I have some ideas, but I'm not for sure where I'm going to go.
And if you're joining us late, she has her prom date boyfriend beside her. How was prom?
It was awesome.
It was great.
Yes.
Did you drive in there on your truck?
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish we could get it here.
That would have been cool.
That would have been super
That
cool.
would have been cool. Okay. Well, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand before we go with our fabulous guest, Valerie Clark. David. Oops. Try again. Try to unmute. This is one. Okay, go ahead.
Where are you located, and are you on a circuit as far as the racing goes?
So I live in Kansas City, and my family keeps the trucks in California with a commercial shop that takes care of them. So what I usually do is I fly out. We grab all of the chase trucks with all the parts and tools and stuff in them. We grab the race trucks and we go to wherever the race is at. So like this next one, we'll drive up to Las Vegas for Baja, Nevada, which is part of Legacy Racing Association. So if I were to race.
When's that race?
When's the race?
Yeah.
It is June 24th is the race day. And there's qualifying, I think the 22nd or 23rd. But it'll start not in Vegas, but I believe it'll be just north of Vegas.
Okay. And what's it called again?
Baja, Nevada is the race itself, but it's part of Legacy Racing Association.
Okay. Just in case you didn't know, the U.S. women's soccer team and the men's reached an agreement for equal pay. This is like a historic agreement yesterday or the day before.
Right.
So it's the way they announced it was full equality, for pay and all that. So being in a male-dominated sport obviously has its real disadvantages and probably not many advantages. So I really commend you. And so I used to live in Massachusetts, and I sort of moved out here a couple months ago and have spent a lot of time in Arizona and New Mexico and some in Colorado and Utah and California. I used to live in California, but I'll see if I get out to Vegas. But there's all these little circuits going on here and there. But you probably have heard about the Rich Strike. That amazing 80-1 shot, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you haven't looked at that race, I mean, it's amazing what Sonny Leon was able to do with that in the race itself. But you talked about a team and preparation and support. I mean, when I heard, I don't know anything about horse racing, but I follow that story a lot. Watched all these press conferences, watched the things with the grooms and the jockeys. I mean, the support team that's around you. My son used to play orchestra, and I mean, that's like no support except a couple parents. But you have for you to succeed, you have to have an amazing team, and that's anyway.
No, she does. She has her parents, her sister there, her boyfriend. Right? That's
Yes.
awesome. And her daily, affirmations and her faith obviously is a big part of her life. So I want to thank you, Valerie. You've really empowered us and really inspired us. We look forward to seeing you, on the Human Baton, which is going to be coming out eventually, right? Do you know when?
I'm not for sure. I've been getting little tidbits of information and updates and stuff. It looks like it's moving along swimmingly, though.
Well, that'll be great.
Yeah.
And how can people, if you want them to follow you or to reach out to you, how can they do that?
The best way would probably be Instagram. It's Valerie.Clark. That's all it is. VALERIE. I have a Facebook, but that's mostly just for friends and family. But the Instagram would be best.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Please tune in, people, to her episode where we talk even deeper about some aspects of her life and, racing through our fears and obstacles that have come our way and how she's really inspiring and empowering individuals. And this was such a treat to see your sister and your boyfriend and meet your mom. So thank you so much. I love this. So thank you so much again, and stay in touch. And thank you for being our youngest Grateful Goddess. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.